Okay, so now for the main event, Babylon. After all this, after all the judgment we've had in this book, against Judah and Jerusalem, the remnant of Israel, which was judged 100 years ago, all these nations we just got done talking about, the main event, the main bad guy is left to be dealt with. That's Babylon. Babylon is the instrument God's going to use to bring about this judgment. I don't know exactly when the judgment against these other nations we just read about was fulfilled. I don't know. I can't say exactly when that happened. In some instances, maybe we have a solid idea. Sometimes we don't. It appears as though, generally speaking, the instrument of judgment against all these nations was Babylon. It was certainly God's instrument of judgment against Judah and Jerusalem. The Babylon itself is going to have its day with God. Babylon is not going to get through its time unpunished. They did all these things. God gave them the authority and the power to do it. That doesn't mean that they were good guys for doing it. He called Nebuchadnezzar his servant. That doesn't mean Nebuchadnezzar is a good guy. That doesn't mean that Babylon is a good city. This is another, and we saw this before with Assyria, okay? Assyria was in the exact same position 100 years earlier that Babylon is in now. Assyria had its own desires for conquest and massacre and slaughter. And it did that. It acted on those desires, and God let them do it. God cleared the way to let them do it. And then he judged Assyria with Babylon. And he's going to do the same thing with Babylon. He's going to let Babylon have its day, and he's going to bring on actually against Babylon. We read about this in Isaiah already. Isaiah, 100 years earlier, already prophesied about this. God was going to send a deliverer named Cyrus to save the Jews that were in captivity in Babylon. We're going to read about that happening as we actually go through that. But Babylon is not going to escape its own judgment. It's not going to get away for doing all these things it's been doing. And it's been authorized and empowered by God to do them, but that doesn't mean that it's good for doing them. Just because God is using Babylon to accomplish these purposes doesn't mean that Babylon are good guys, or that they're not going to get their own day with God at some point in time. So here we are. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for this message. This is the word the Lord spoke through Jeremiah the prophet concerning Babylon and the land of the Babylonians. All right, this is going to be good. We've been waiting for this. We have a lot to say here, too. This is going to go on for a while. We have a lot to say about Babylon. Announce and proclaim among the nations. Lift up a banner and proclaim it. Keep nothing back, but say, Babylon will be captured. Bel will be put to shame. That's their version of Baal. Marduk, filled with terror. That's the personal name for their chief god of Babylon. Marduk, filled with terror. Her images will be put to shame, and her idols filled with terror. A nation from the north will attack her and lay waste her land. So this is north of Babylon now. If you look at your map in the back of your Bible, if you have one that goes out this far, you'll see the nation that ends up taking out Babylon will be an alliance between the Medes and the Persians. And again, they're more like east of Babylon, but there is some northern aspects of it too. Babylon itself is here. I'm not sure how well you can see this. That's not good. Look up a map on your own. Okay, Babylon itself is on the Euphrates River on the way down to the Persian Gulf, and the land that's going to fight it will be Persia, which is actually east of Babylon. Although I guess you could say that some of them will be north. The reason why we're talking about north here is because the same judgment that came against Judah is going to end up coming against Babylon. Just as we said way back at the beginning of the book with Jeremiah's call, there's a tilting pot from the pot tilting from the south from the north to the south. And the reason why we mention that is because Babylon came through to Israel from the north. Babylon is actually east of Israel. Again, if you look at your map, if you want to be like geographically correct, Babylon is actually more east of Israel than north. But they came to Israel from the north. Even here in this map here, which is actually a route of Abraham's travels back in much earlier times, you see that his His route is mapped out with that red line there, and he came into the promised land from the north. You did that because in between Babylon and Israel, there's this huge desert. That's what that big gap in the middle there, marked as Arabia, is. That's a desert. So if you're in the Euphrates River east of Israel, you don't travel straight west to get to Israel because you'd be going through a desert. So to get there, you go up the Euphrates River and down again. So the reason why we've been talking about Babylon as being this kingdom from the north is not actually because it's geographically north of Israel. It's not. It's actually more like east. But they're coming from the north. And so here now, to flip the judgment back onto Babylon for its own sins, we're saying that their invaders are going to come from their north too. So a nation from the north will attack her, Babylon, and lay waste to her land. No one will live in it. Both men and animals will flee away. In those days, at that time, declares the Lord, the people of Israel, that's the northern kingdom, and the people of Judah together will go in tears to seek the Lord their God. They will ask the way to Zion and turn their faces toward it. So they've repented. They're finally ready to go home. They will come and bind themselves to the Lord in an everlasting covenant that will not be forgotten. We'll read more about this covenant in Jeremiah 31. There's a hint of it here, but we're going to read more about it when we go back and read through the rest of Jeremiah after this. My people have been, as I said before, when these prophets speak of the future, there's a few different things you have to keep in mind. There's a few different time frames that they're envisioning when they see these visions and try to communicate to us about these visions they're having of the future. You have the return from exile, which is in view here. Okay, some of it is just strictly the return from exile. Some of it is the arrival of their king, which would be the Messiah. That would be Jesus. That's several hundred years away. Hello? Some of it is the establishment of the kingdom, which would happen in the day of Pentecost and following, which is a spiritual kingdom, not a physical kingdom. And some of it is a consummation of the kingdom, which is when Christ returns. That hasn't even happened yet to this day. But they talk about all these things. They kind of blend them together in one big vision. Now, Jeremiah doesn't do that very much. But whenever these prophets speak of this future kingdom, you have to remember they're speaking like these four different things and kind of blurring them all together into one big picture. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray. They caused them to roam on the mountains. They wandered over mountain and hill and forgot their own resting place. Whoever found them devoured them. Their enemies said, we're not guilty. We were told to do this. We're allowed to do this. They were not guilty, for they sinned against the Lord, their true pasture, the Lord, the hope of their fathers. Flee out of Babylon. Leave the land of the Babylonians, and be like the goats that lead the flock. For I will stir up and bring against Babylon an alliance of great nations from the land of the north. They will take up their positions against her, and from the north she will be captured. This will happen in the days of Daniel. We'll read about this actually in Daniel, when the Persians and the Medes come and conquer Babylon. Their arrows will be like skilled warriors who do not return empty-handed. So Babylonia will be plundered. All who plunder her will have their fill, declares the Lord. Because you rejoice and are glad when you pillage my inheritance, because you frolic like a heifer threshing grain, and neigh like stallions. So they enjoy getting to destroy the people of God. It was something that they delighted in doing. And they thought they were guiltless for it because they thought they had permission from God to do it. But your mother will be greatly ashamed. She who gave you birth will be disgraced. She will be the least of the nations, a wilderness, a dry land, a desert. There's that idea again of uncreating the creation, taking the inhabitable, fruitful land and reverting it back to an uninhabitable wilderness. Because of the Lord's anger, she will not be inhabited, but will be completely desolate. All who pass by Babylon will be horrified and scoff because of all her wounds. They said that about Jerusalem once upon a time too. Now it's going to be true about Babylon. Take up your positions around Babylon, all you who draw the bow. Shoot at her! Spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord. Shout against her on every side. She surrenders, her towers fall, her walls are torn down. Since this is the vengeance of the Lord, take vengeance on her. Do to her as she has done to others. Cut off from Babylon the sower, and the reaper with his sickle at harvest. Because of the sword of the oppressor, let everyone return to his own people. Let everyone flee to his own land. Israel is a scattered flock that lions have chased away. The first to devour him was the king of Assyria. The last to crush his bones, at least up to this point in time, was Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. There will be others in the future. Daniel will give us a vision of that when we get down to Daniel. But the last, as of this point in time, was Nebuchadnezzar. Therefore, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. I will punish the king of Babylon and his land as I punished the king of Assyria. But I will bring Israel back to his own pasture, and he will graze on Carmel and Bashan. His appetite will be satisfied on the hills of Ephraim and Gilead. In those days, at that time, declares the Lord, search will be made for Israel's guilt, but there will be none. And for the sins of Judah, but none will be found. For I will forgive the remnant I spare. So you can try as hard as you like to find any reason to accuse them. You're not going to find it. God will not let you find it, because he is going to forgive them of their sins. Doesn't mean they're not going to sin anymore. That God will forgive them of their sins. And no matter how hard you may try to press your case against them, God has forgiven them. Attack the land of Menathaim and those who live in Pekod. Pursue, I don't know where those are. I guess some places in Babylonia, I guess. I don't know. Pursue, kill, and completely destroy them, declares the Lord. There is that term that we said before in the footnotes down there. The Hebrew term of destroy refers to the irrevocable giving over of things or persons in regard to the Lord, often by totally destroying them. That was the purpose of holy war. When you defeated your enemies and you took everything they had, their cattle, their possessions, and you burned them up to God. You were dedicating them to God for destruction. Just like you dedicate yourself for consecration, set apart for a special use. You can dedicate some things apart for destruction. Do everything I have commanded you. The noise of battle is in the land, the noise of great destruction. How broken and shattered is the hammer of the whole earth. How desolate is Babylon among the nations. I set a trap for you, O Babylon, and you were caught before you knew it. You were found and captured because you opposed the Lord. The Lord has opened his arsenal and brought out the weapons of his wrath. For the sovereign Lord Almighty has work to do in the land of the Babylonians. He's got some Babylonians to kill. He's got some vengeance to dish out. Come against her from afar. Break open her granaries. Pile her up like heaps of grain. Completely destroy her and leave no remnant. Kill all her young bulls. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe to them! For their day has come, the time for them to be punished. Listen to the fugitives and refugees from Babylon, declaring in Zion how the Lord our God has taken vengeance for his temple. He said he was going to deal with it eventually. Now the false prophets kept saying he was going to do it right away. He didn't. He waited a long time. He waited 3 generations, 70 years. But he did eventually come forth. He came for his stuff. He came for his temple. He came in vengeance against the people who destroyed it. Summon archers against Babylon, all those who draw the bow. Encamp all around her, and let no one escape. Repay her for her deeds. Do to her as she has done. For she has defied the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. That's an Isaiah term. Isaiah liked calling God that. Therefore, her young men will fall in the streets, and her soldiers will be silenced in that day, declares the Lord. You see, I am against you, O arrogant one, declares the Lord Almighty. For your day has come. That's something I never want to hear God say to me. I am against you, O arrogant one. For your day has come, the time for you to be punished. The arrogant one will stumble and fall, and no one will help her up. I will kindle a fire in her towns that will consume all who are around her. This is what the Lord Almighty says. The people of Israel are oppressed, and the people of Judah as well. All their captors hold them fast and will not let them go. Yet their Redeemer is strong. It calls back to the days of Egypt, when they weren't allowed to leave Egypt in captivity, while they were in captivity. Yet their Redeemer is strong. The Lord Almighty is his name. He will vigorously defend their cause, so he may bring rest to their land, but unrest to those who live in Babylon. A sword against the Babylonians, declares the Lord, against those who live in Babylon, and against her officials and wise men. A sword against her false prophets. They will become fools. A sword against her warriors. They will be filled with terror. A sword against her chariots and horses, and all the foreigners in her ranks. They will become women. That's the worst insult of all right there. And it's one thing to say you're going to become a fool, or become filled with terror. I mean, you say you're going to become a woman, that's as insulting as it gets. A sword against her treasures, they'll be plundered. A drought on her waters, they'll be dried up. Or a sword against her waters. For it is a land of idols, idols that will go mad with terror. So desert creatures and hyenas will live there. These are unclean animals. And there the owl will dwell. It will never again be inhabited or lived in from generation to generation. There's that idea of uncreating the creation. Returning the fertile, fruitful, inhabited land to a desert, uninhabitable wasteland. So no one will live there, no man will dwell in it. Look, an army is coming from the north. A great nation and many kings are being stirred up from the ends of the earth. They are armed with bows and spears. They are cruel and without mercy. They sound like the roaring sea as they ride in on their horses. They come like men in battle formation to attack you, O daughter of Babylon. The king of Babylon has heard reports about them, and his hands hang limp. We're actually going to read in Daniel 5, when we read about the night that Babylon fell, the king at the time, his knees knocked together. He was scared poopless. Anguish has gripped him, pain like that of a woman in labor. Like a lion coming up from Jordan's thickets, we read about this earlier in one of the other prophecies, to a rich pasture land. I will chase Babylon from its land in an instant. Who is the chosen one I will appoint for this? He asked this question about Edom back in a few chapters ago. He said this exact same phrase. There, I'm assuming the answer was Babylon. Here, I guess it's the Medo-Persians. Those are the armies he's going to use to fight Babylon. And who is like me, and who can challenge me? And what shepherd can stand against me? I think the repetition of these phrases back to back here indicates that in the end, whether he's using Assyria or Babylon or Medo-Persia or any other nation as his instrument of justice or judgment, no one is like God. These armies come and go, but God stays the same. One century in the 700s, he uses Assyria. In the 600s, he uses Babylon. In the 500s, he uses the Medes and the Persians. In the 300s, he'll use the Greeks. In the 100s, he'll use the Romans. But these kingdoms will all come and go, and God will stay.